Okay, so how many times have you tried to lose weight and you just can't seem to do it? How many times have you tried to lose that same 5, 10, 15, 20 kilos and you just can't seem to do it? And how many times have you, even though you don't want to, fallen prey to chocolate cravings or Dorito delusion or cake confusion? How many times has that happened to you, I wonder? I want to help you today to overcome that. I want to help you today to find a solution to moving through that. But first of all, who am I? I am Jen Richards. I am the co-creator of Rumbles Paleo and also the creator of our brand new online healthy cooking school, the Rumbles Lifestyle Hub. I am also a weight loss coach, an EFT tapping practitioner at Matrix Regeneration, and you can see it there. And I work in this weight loss field, helping people find peace and love within themselves and with food, and to making sense of their habits and beliefs around food and why it is that they can't seem to find a happy relationship there. So that is me. And so what we're going to do today is talk about some of the real reasons why people can't lose weight, why people can't beat their cravings, and why just looking at what we eat and how much we exercise is not the solution to this problem, regardless of how much we've been taught this. That's what we've been told. Give me a thumbs up if that's what you've heard all your life, cut calories and just exercise and you will have the body and life of your dreams. Let me know if you've done that or heard that. That was the strategy I used for years to try and have a happy relationship with food, to try and lose weight, or to try to just stay at a consistent weight as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually just going to take a moment to share this Facebook Live over to our private Facebook group as well. Just give me a little thumbs up. I can see there's a few of us on here if you can hear me properly. And if you have a friend who you think needs to hear this, maybe you want to tag them so that they can see it as well. So I'm just going to try to share this over, and let me know if I've met you before. I travel around doing tasting sessions a lot, and so I may have met you at a tasting, or I know some of my clients will be on here as well. You don't have to share that, but just let me know if I know you from anywhere. So I'm just going to share this over, share to a page. Won't be a minute. All right. For you. Okay, beautiful. So shared over. So I hope you've got some lunch and maybe you're going to be watching with us. I really want to deliver maximum value here. I'm not just on Facebook Live for the fun of it, although I do find it fun. I really want to help people out there. The thing is, we are in the middle of an obesity crisis here in the Western world. Yet there's books and libraries and website pages are full of strategies for losing weight. So if there's all these different ways to lose weight, why are so many people struggling? And most of the books talk about, as I said before, cutting calories and increasing exercise. Now, if that was the solution, then why are so many people struggling? There's got to be more to it, right? And you've probably pondered this yourself before. And so I want to highlight some of the reasons why this old strategy doesn't work. It's actually never worked. And I want to give you some solutions. I want you to start to find a place of peace with food, to start to find a place of peace with your body. And I want you to achieve your goals. I want you to lose the weight. I want you to fit into those jeans. I really want you to start to love yourself, because truly most people just want to lose the weight so that they can feel like they're a decent human being. They want to start to be able to like themselves. So many people think that I can't like myself until I lose this weight. The truth is, you can start liking yourself right now. And when you actually do start to do that, that is actually when you will start to lose the weight. So I'm going to deliver as much value as I can here for you to shed some light onto your patterns, beliefs, and behaviors, and why this old calories in, calories out equation is not working. And we're going to look at it from an emotional perspective, from a belief perspective, and from a hormonal perspective as well, because there's lots of hormones in our body telling our body how to burn calories, how to metabolize food. And when we understand a bit about hormones, we can start to learn to signal the body to want to lose weight, because if the body doesn't want to lose weight, it's not going to. You can control what you put in your mouth, but you cannot control how your body is going to process it. So let's start. I've got notes here so that I don't forget what I'm going to say. I often start to waffle off and talk about who knows what. So I want to keep on target for this presentation because, as I said, I want to give you as much information as possible. You don't want to listen to me waffle on all day, although some of you might. But anyway, I'm waffling. See? Stick to your notes, Jenny. Stick to your notes. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, we are primal bodies living in a modern world. Our bodies do not know that we are living in the year 2017. That is the year, right? Yes, it is. Our bodies don't know that. They actually believe we're still foraging around in the woods somewhere. They think we're primal beings. We've only become this modern industrialized earth for the last, 100, 200 years. But apart from that, man has been roaming this planet for millions of years. They've been banging their clubs together for millions of years. And the body doesn't know that we have computers and internet. It doesn't know that we're surrounded by food everywhere. It still thinks we're playing games in the sand amongst trees on the beaches of a primal landscape, okay? So back then when we were eating and living, the body was always trying to keep itself safe. It always thought that danger was lurking around the corner. It always thought that famine might be coming, that an ice age might be coming. And it was a pessimist. This body of ours is a pessimist. It always thinks we're going to die, even though we're living in the year 2017. So there were certain foods when people found them back in primal times that told the body to eat a lot of them because these foods are going to keep us alive. These bodies are going to help us to put on weight and make sure that we are prepared for famine when it's around the corner, because the next winter was always coming. Or, the seasons would change and there might be earthquakes and, we might be short of food at any moment. So foods that are very sweet, foods that are salty, and foods that are fatty, our bodies have been programmed to want because they will keep us alive. So when you think about it, back in primal times, things like honey and berries were very rare, and they were high sugar foods, and they would allow us to eat this food in abundance. When we found it, it would tell us to eat a lot of it because it would give us ultimate calories so that we could store weight and be ready for when that famine was going to come. So sweet foods like honey and berries, when we ate them, we were like, oh my God, give me more. The body loved them because it was a signal to consume lots of it so that we could pack on the pounds for when the ice age was coming. Also salty foods. We were programmed to like salty foods. So back in the day, salty foods were things like fish and things from the ocean specifically. And so we were programmed to really want those salty foods. Today, salty foods might be in a pack of crisps. Salty foods might be, your local takeaway. And sweet foods these days for us, oh gosh, I could sit here and list them for the next 10 years. That's how many sweet foods available. It's not really berries and honey we're craving. It's more chocolate, caramel bars, and berry floss, or whatever your sweet craving might be. And the third food we were programmed to want was fatty food. We were programmed to want fat. But for us, fat came from, animals that have been grazing out on the plains. So you might have, always remember watching that movie Dances with Wolves, and when anyone seen that movie? Give me a like if you have. Hi Kyle, how are you? Sorry, I'm not going to get distracted. And they killed the beast, And I remember the Indians just grabbing the heart and the organs and devouring the fat. The body wants to devour the fat because it signals that it tells the body to put on weight so that we can keep ourselves alive when that famine is coming. So today, fatty foods we crave are like fast food, donuts, Twinkies. I don't know why I say Twinkies because I'm Australian and we don't really have them here. So when you're getting frustrated at yourselves because you're craving these sweet foods, you're craving these salty foods, you're craving these fatty foods, know that your body was actually programmed to want them. But back in the day when we had the fatty foods from meats, when we had the salty food from seafood, when we had the honey from berries, we were getting nutrients with those foods as well. So it got to a certain point where we ate some of them and we would eventually get full because the body is getting all the vitamins, all the nutrients, all the macros and micros that it needs to actually stay alive. But these days, when we're eating those fatty, salty foods that come from the supermarket, that come from the bakery, that come from the takeout stores, they're depleted of nutrition. So in a book I was reading, they call these no-break foods. So we're getting the craving, the salty, sweet, fatty foods that our body is calling for, but there's no nutrition with them. So that means that we can keep eating them and keep eating them because the body's like, hey, where's my vitamins? Where's my minerals? Where's all these nutrients I need to keep alive? It's not getting them. So that means we can eat a whole pack of Tim Tams, we can eat a whole block of chocolate because there's no nutrition in it at all and the body's saying eat more of this. So that's one reason why we can't help but crave certain foods. Our body actually wants them, and when we eat them we don't get any nutrition, so we crave them even more. Not only that, most of those foods we were given to as children and we were given them as a reward. Who can remember when they were kids and your parents saying, if you're a good child, I'm going to give you a chocolate bar? I used to be a primary school teacher and I used to have rewards for my students many years ago. This is 5 years ago now. If you earn a certain amount of points, I'm going to give you guys lollies. Okay? So many of us have linked these salty, fatty, sweet foods to happy memories. So we're actually programmed ourselves because of our history to want these foods because they tell us we're safe. They're linked to beautiful, happy memories. And so in times of stress, when we're feeling scared, when we're feeling frightened, when we're feeling lonely, deep in our unconscious mind, we've got this program that to get out of these painful experiences, to get the love we're craving, to get the connection we're craving, well, we can get that from food because that's what we were taught as children, or that's what we learned as children. So even though you don't want to eat those foods in times of stress, you actually subconsciously link them to feeling loved. And so you've set up this reward system inside your brain that sends you to those foods even though you logically don't want to eat them. So that's another reason why it's and every time we actually do cave into those foods because we think they're going to give us the love we're seeking, we're actually firing and wiring our brains together, making those cravings even stronger. So every time we reward ourselves with food, we actually make the craving even bigger. So that's something to note as well. Well, this is actually one of the reasons why I created Rumbles Paleo, because I wanted to create a snack for people that they could eat on the fly, they could eat on the run, that actually delivered nutrients as well. That's why we only use ingredients like nuts and seeds and coconut and very limited amounts of honey and maple, because we actually wanted to give people an option to have something sweet they could eat, but give them the nutrients as well. I actually created those products when I was frustrated myself that I couldn't find a product that delivered nutrition as well as making me feel satisfied and like I'd eaten something that was really delicious. So that's just a little reason why I created Rumbles Paleo. I'm just checking I've covered everything here. Yes. So let's talk about stress, because I talked a little bit before that when you're feeling stressed, the body thinks it's in danger. Now, as I said, the body is a primal thing. It always thinks you're going to die. How great is that, right? Thanks, body. So whenever it perceives a situation as being stressful, it's going to do everything it can to get you out of pain and get you into pleasure. The body is always trying to do one of two things: escape from pain, which ultimately it believes leads to death, and get you into pleasure, which equals safety. So stress in any form is actually triggering us to go to food. Remember I said as children we've set up these reward pathways. When we feel stressed, when we feel like we need to get out of pain, we've been trained, or we've trained ourselves to use food as a reward. So when you're, struggling at your job, when the children are driving you crazy, when you can't when you can't figure out a solution to your finances, when you're in a line at the bank, when there's dogs barking, or whatever causes you stress, we've programmed ourselves to actually turn to food. Many of us, in order to feel better. It might not even be food. For some people it might be cigarettes. For some people it might be alcohol. It could be any number of things. You may have set up a different reward system. But if you're watching this, you're probably here to learn about food. That's why I'm relating everything to food. So stress can equate to anything, any danger that's real or perceived. So back in primal times, real danger was, running away from a crazy yak. I don't know if they had crazy yaks, but a saber-toothed tiger or something. But stress in our modern day is not anymore crazy yaks. It's all those things I mentioned before. And I actually wrote an article about stress on the Rumbles Paleo blog, and it's called, because I'm an EFT tapping practitioner, it's in the EFT tapping article on our blog. It's called How to Do EFT Tapping, where I talk about stress and what it's actually doing to us from a hormonal perspective and why it's driving us to food. So stress puts us into the fight or flight response. And the fight or flight response is a way for us to stay safe. It means we're either going to run, we're going to freeze, or we're going to fight. So those perceived stresses that you're experiencing, like I don't have enough money to pay the bills, I can't get my tasks done at my work, I'm running late, all those sorts of stresses are actually signaling our body hormonally to be in a fat storage mode. Great, right? How many of you out there can relate? How many of you have this like kind of low grade hum of stress in the background of your lives, like moment to moment? I'm sure plenty of you do. Just, give me a little thumbs up if you can relate to this, just feeling this little, it might be like a little feeling in your stomach, like you're maybe not getting enough done, that you're not doing what you're supposed to do, that a money financial problem. How many of you just have that low grade stress going on in your lives? I can see lots of thumbs coming through. So I know a lot of you can relate to this. So what stress actually does, it actually releases a hormone called cortisol. And cortisol is great when you have to run from that crazy yak or the saber-toothed tiger, but it's not great when it's constantly being released in this low-grade level and it's running your lives. Cortisol actually raises our blood sugar levels, which means your body will start to burn the sugar it's releasing instead of digging into the fat stores in your body. It also directly affects our waist area. A lot of people who are in a lot of stress, that blood sugar is released and the fat is actually directed to be stored around our stomachs, which can be quite dangerous actually. So if you've noticed as your stress levels have increased that you've, just got a little bit of a pot belly or that sort of thing, then this could be stress related. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. Cortisol actually starts to break down the protein in our muscles for energy. So it starts to break down your muscles. So cortisol prevents you from tapping into fat stores and it breaks down your muscle. Great, right? That's not very good. It leads to an insulin response. As I said, it's releasing lots of blood into the back, not lots of blood, lots of sugar back, lots of glucose back into the bloodstream. And so this increases our insulin response. Insulin is a hormone that is released to actually put sugar back into our cells. And we don't want too much sugar in our blood because it can be quite dangerous. Increased insulin can lead to insulin resistance. Increased insulin also leads to something called leptin resistance. Leptin is another hormone that actually tells our body, we've got enough fat here, we don't need to store anymore. Or leptin tells our bodies that we're too skinny, so we need to put on weight. Now, a lot of people who have extra weight are probably leptin resistant to some extent. So when the body actually thinks that, so leptin resistance means your brain isn't getting the leptin hormone. So it's not getting the message that, hey, we've got enough fat on our body here, so you can actually, start to lose weight. When we have leptin resistance, the body thinks we're starving. And so what it tells the body to do is to conserve energy. Stop metabolizing calories so much. Don't move as much because we don't want to waste the energy we've actually got. And actually, let's get hungry because you're not actually big enough, so you need to eat more. So anyone who has any form of leptin resistance, the body is, no matter what you're eating, if it thinks that you're too lean, then the body is going to keep telling you to eat more, move less, and metabolize less. So leptin and insulin, they're hormones, and they can be linked to stress, and they can really cause havoc for us. So have you ever experienced, have you ever experienced this? Have you ever just had those ultimate cravings at nighttime, even though you're not hungry? This could be the body signaling that, we don't have enough body fat here. So you need to go and eat more. Often leptin resistance is linked to carbohydrate cravings in the evening. So that's something to be aware of as well. If your body thinks it's too lean, it's going to send you to all those behaviors to make you put on weight. And not only that, when cortisol is released in the system and we're feeling stressed, as I said before, we're going to be led to something to make us feel good. Stress-related eating. We're feeling stressed, we're going to eat. It makes us feel good temporarily. And what that does is it resets up the programs in our brain, because for that moment when you eat, the stress is gone, and you reset up that program saying food equals release of pain. Food equals pleasure. So you're really just reigniting the brain neurons in your brain telling you to eat more whenever you feel stressed in the future. It's crazy. It's not good, is it? It's like this vicious cycle. Let me get back to where I'm up to. I wanted to talk about as well, sometimes you may be having this stress for no reason. So sometimes we're going about our lives and everything's fine and dandy, and then all of a sudden you feel this sense of panic. Has anyone felt that? You're like, all of a sudden everything's fine. Give me a thumbs up if you felt that. And for some reason this fear pops up in your stomach. For some reason this stress pops up and you're like, what's going on? A moment ago I was all good, and now I'm just fretting about something. What's happening here is, and this can lead us to stress-induced eating as well, what's happening here is you've been triggered by something. We are, by the time we get to the age we are now, I'm presuming most of you are at least in your 20s if you're watching this, we are creatures of behaviours, habits that we have been establishing since we were children. Now, when we get triggered, what's happening is the body is automatically thinking it's in danger. And you could be triggered by anything. And I do give an example of this in the post on our blog called EFT Tapping, which I'll include down below as well. And what happens is, as a child, you may have perceived some form of trauma. And this could be real or imagined. So real trauma might be, a big accident. It might be a death in the family. It might be an illness. And perceived trauma might be something like a teacher scolding you at school. It might be your parents saying something to you. It might be your brother picking on you. And what the brain has done, it's linked this trauma, perceived or real. It's noted it in your brain and it's tagged it there. It's gone, whenever a certain thing like this happens again, you are in danger and you need to protect yourself. So the example I give in that blog post is, just say you were a child and your teacher scolded you in class for some particular reason, and she was wearing a floral dress. Well, what actually happens in the brain, in the unconscious mind, it records everything that happened when you perceived a trauma, and it lodges it in there, and whenever a similar thing happens again in the future, it's going to put you into stress mode, fight or flight mode, so that you can keep yourself safe, because the trauma at the time was really stressful. Stress is any trauma, perceived or real. So now you're going about your everyday and you might walk past a lady in a floral jumper and unconsciously you're in a state of panic. Now, you don't know why, but it's because the brain has linked all these scenarios back together and it's gone, danger, 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 lady in floral top. Remember before we got in trouble as a child, and now now we need to keep ourselves safe. So that can lead to stress-induced eating as well. Just all these little traumas stored up in our mind, always trying to keep ourselves safe. And it's these beliefs, it's these little stories that we've unconsciously triggered that are sabotaging our healthy eating goals in the long run. So that's another reason why we might go to stress-related eating. Now, this is an important topic. The next topic I want to cover is whether your body actually wants you to lose weight. And this is something that is not talked about much at all. The diet industry doesn't talk about this. Every seminar I've been to, I've never heard this talk about. But when I was studying to become an EFT tapping practitioner, when I was studying with Mark David at the Institute for Psychology of Eating, and when I was overcoming my own battles with emotional eating, this is actually something that really helped me transform my life. Your body may be holding on to weight for any number of reasons, and it's holding on to the weight because it wants to keep you safe. If you think being skinny is going to be a threat to your life, if you unconsciously think this, your body will not let you lose weight and it will keep sabotaging you. Now you're like, Jenny, you're crazy. Of course I want to lose weight and of course I want to be skinny. But you might logically think that, but deep down beneath you there are beliefs there that are saying, nah, we're not going to get skinny because skinny means danger. So this has been really powerful in my work with clients as well. It also comes down to whether you believe you can lose weight. If you think you can't lose weight, if you think it's going to be really hard, well, you're not going to be able to do it. It all comes down to whether you believe you can do it and whether it's going to be painless, because remember, pain equals death. And anything that's death related, the body is going to prevent you from doing. So I want to just talk a little bit more about why your body might want to keep you big, why it doesn't want you to lose the weight. A lot of people may have had some sort of physical or sexual abuse in their history. And if that's the case, holding on to weight is actually acts as a layer of protection. Unconsciously, it pushes other people away from you and it pushes away attention. So if anyone's experienced any form of physical or sexual abuse, it can be the reason why they can't lose the weight, because if the person gets skinny, then they're going to be noticed, then they're more easily accessible. So that's one reason why the body wants to hold on to weight. If people believe they're unworthy, if people believe they're not good enough, then the body will unconsciously want to hold on to weight, because being skinny can equal being successful. And people who don't believe they're deserving of being successful will unconsciously self-sabotage themselves, because the weight keeps them true to their belief system. It keeps them true to their feelings of unworthiness. So if any way you can relate to that, that may be another reason why you can't get rid of the weight or why you self-sabotage yourself. If you believe losing weight unconsciously will actually harm other people, your body won't let you. Think about it for a moment. Who's going to be affected if you do lose weight? Who might be upset if you do lose the weight? Who are you going to put out because you lost the weight? These are things you might not be considering logically, but when you really sit and think about it, how is this going to affect your relationships? If unconsciously you believe people are going to treat you differently, then your body will not want to lose the weight as well. So have a think about that and take note of that, and remember that. Self-punishment, as I said before, a lot of people don't believe they're worthy and they will eat the food as a form of self-punishment to prove to themselves how unworthy they are. People are always trying to prove themselves correct. So that feeling of not good enough, that feeling of unworthiness, you're going to punish yourself in order to prove yourself that that's true. Grief can lead us to put on weight, because grief actually, when we're feeling in the grieving process, we feel separated, we feel disjointed. And in a way, eating actually grounds us. It actually makes us feel connected. So we can eat when we're feeling grief or when we're feeling lonely. And I wonder if you can relate to that as well. If you feel lonely, when we're actually putting food inside us, we're taking something from the environment and we're making it one with us. Eating is such an intimate relationship. We're taking something outside of us and it's becoming our body. So unconsciously, many people might eat in order to feel connected to the world, spiritually, to other people. It's a form of connection. And also think about it. What would you, if you did lose the weight, how would you have to step up? A lot of people unconsciously don't want to lose the weight because it means they have to change. It means they might have to go after their dreams. It means they might have to actually take risks. They might change jobs. They might have to, stand out. So there's lots of reasons why people unconsciously hold on to weight, because they don't want to have to do the extra work that losing the weight will mean they have to do. And I hope that makes sense. Another thing, think about it as a child. Were you ever told, eat everything on your plate? There's starving children in Africa. I actually wasn't told that as a kid, but I remember being at friends' houses and their parents saying that to me. If you've been delivered that message, then you are going to want to unconsciously, not necessarily, some people are going to unconsciously believe they have to eat all the food. I've worked with clients and they can't stand leftovers. They can't throw leftovers in the bin. They have to eat them because they've got this program that they have to eat all the food, or, the kids in Africa are it's bad for the kids in Africa. Or we've been taught to eat everything on our plate. And that can push people in their older years to eat everything on their plate, even though they're so full, because they have this belief system that that's what they have to do. So that's those reasons there. All right, and there's lots of other different reasons as well, and we're probably going for a bit long now, so I might stop them, but I will talk about them in future posts as well. A couple of other things I just want to throw in there as well. When people eat too fast, this can cause people to put on weight, because when we eat too fast, the body doesn't even understand it's gotten any food. It doesn't even understand it's gotten any pleasure. Remember, the body is always trying to get into pleasure. And when we eat really fast, it bypasses the signals that say, hey, we've eaten, we've got some sustenance, we've got some nutrients, and it's going to signal people to eat more. Also, when people eat fast, they're missing out on something called the cephalic phase of digestion, which is the head phase of digestion, which can account for 20 to 80% of our digestion. Just by noticing our food, just by smelling it, paying attention to our environment, by, being in conversation with the people around us, and just by taking everything in and paying attention to our food, we actually switch on digestion. You actually begin digesting your food before you even start to eat. The thought of food prompts digestion. So when we eat too fast, we don't get this cephalic phase, we don't get the head phase of digestion, and we're missing out on anywhere from 20 to 80% of our calorie burning efficiency. But the one thing I wanted to talk about, and the one thing I'm going to provide a resource for you to help you through this, is actually how being on a diet can cause us to put on weight. And I've produced a 4-part blog post on this that I'm going to release weekly, and I've got a workbook to go along with it as well, so that I can help you step out of this diet cycle. Step out of being on a diet every single Monday. Step out of criticizing ourselves because we can't lose the weight. I really want to give you strategies to break down why it is you can't lose the weight, to help you get off this weight loss cycle for good, so that you can step up and into your true power, into, you know, that person you're longing to be, because you can't lose the weight. I want to help you start to be that person now, and I also want to help you in the process, you know, maybe lose a few pounds as well. So being on a diet, and thank you, I can see the thumbs up coming through. And I know so many of you are frustrated. I was frustrated for so long as well myself. For those of you who don't know, I've been anorexic, I've been bulimic, I've had binge eating disorder. I've been 20 kilos heavier than what I am. I've been 20 kilos lighter than what I am. And now I've been at this same weight for a good 4 years now. So I know your frustration, which is why I do this, which is why I've dedicated my life to having this health food company and creating the online healthy cooking school and doing all this sort of thing. It's because I understand the pain and I see people in it all the time, and it's only getting worse. As long as the weight loss diet industry keep telling us to exercise more and eat less, and as long as we're still being exposed to those media messages that being skinny equals the perfect life, until we can move past that, then I will always have work to do. So I want to talk about diet. It's the biggest stress ever. Think about how it takes away your attention from your job, from your family. Think about how it keeps you small. Think about how it keeps you stressed. Think about how it, you know, keeps you hating yourself in some little way. How many times do you pick at your stomach? How many times do you look in the mirror and go, oh, I just don't like this? Okay, I bet you, for many of you, it happens quite often, and I want to help you get out of this. So those diet techniques are actually creating stress. And as I said before, what does stress do? Stress signals the body to put on weight. Stress actually tells our body to break down muscle. Stress sends us to the foods we're trying to avoid. Stress actually breaks down the gut bacteria in our stomach. And being in this diet cycle is actually signaling the body that we're in danger. It's telling us to eat more, because remember, if we're in danger or about to die and the body thinks we're in famine, it's telling our body to eat more, it's telling our body to move less, and it's telling our body to not metabolize what it is we're eating, because at any moment we could die. And someone just said they really struggle with weight around the tummy. And this is, yes, so what this lady is saying, Helen, thank you, Helen, that she watches what she eats and she does CrossFit every day, yet she still has this weight on. Yeah, and falling into the cravings of sugar craving. Now, too much exercise puts your body into a lot of stress as well. So too much exercise says to the body, oh my gosh, we're burning all these calories. Oh my gosh, I need to do all this healing. Oh my gosh, all sorts of things. So too much exercise can put the body into the stress response and send us to the foods that we don't want to eat. I mean, how many people go to the gym and go, oh, I've been really good today, so I'm going to eat all the food. A lot of people do that as well. I'm not saying exercise is bad. I exercise nearly every day. I love exercise, but I do it because I respect myself. I don't do it to punish myself and because I want to lose the weight, which I used to do. I used to do it that way. So sometimes when we diet too much, exercise too much, the body goes into stress. It thinks it's in famine. You know, we're reducing calories, we're burning all these extra calories, and the body's like, oh my gosh, there's an ice age coming, there's a famine, so we better store weight in preparation. Thanks for bringing that up, Helen. So what I really want to do is to help you understand why it is you turn to food all the time. What are your stories around food? What ideas have you picked up about your body? What are your stories about yourself? I want you to help identify what those are, so that when they pop up into your awareness, you understand that they're not actually helping you out and you can begin to change them. It's really important that we go back and identify those stories we have about food. Specifically, you know, you probably all relate to the one, eat less, move more. You might have any number of stories around food. The good stories around food, you know, that time you ate chocolate ice cream with your mum on the beach when you're 4 years old and your family, and you've equated ice cream to pleasure now. Another story, you know, you were rewarded with chocolate as a child and now that equates to pleasure. What are the stories about self, and where have they come from? Have you been comparing yourself to others? Have you been doing any number of things? And this actual video is related to another blog post on our website, which I'd like you to read, because I've actually got a resource and workbook there for you. And it's called Weight Loss Diets, Why They're Keeping Us Fat and Miserable. And it highlights something called the diet weight loss train. And I'm going to be building the article around this. The diet weight loss train is that train loop we go round and round and round on. We go on a diet, we stay on it for a few days, then we sabotage ourselves, and then we start the diet again. And then the train loop just goes round and round and round. And I want to help you identify the stories that are keeping you on this train, so that you can break them down and step back into the wonder of life. Because while we're on this diet train, there's this beautiful, glorious world happening around us each and every moment. You know, there's flowers blooming, there's family to love, there's beautiful, cute kittens and all those sorts of things. And we're just stuck in this, got to lose the weight, got to count the calories. Oh my gosh, I can't fit into my jeans. And it keeps us small and cramped, and it steals our power, it steals our love, it steals so much away from us. And this workbook I want you to go through is going to give you a ticket off that train. So the reason you're on that train is, one, because of the messages from the media that tell us that being skinny equals being the perfect person. Being skinny equals having the perfect life. You think about all the ads you've seen over the years for anything, and most people are always slim, defined, happy and glorious, and so we equate skinny to being marvelous, to being the ultimate person. Another reason that keeps us on the train is because of this. We compare ourselves to others. We see other people out there who seem to have it all, and we think we're less than them. We see others who have the body we ideally want, and we think their life is perfect. We don't know what's going on in their lives. We've learned to compare ourselves too much. And also the third thing that keeps us on the train is our sense of perceived trauma and whether we believe we're worthy. So the activity I'd like you to do is in the blog post, Weight Loss Diets, Why They're Keeping Us Fat and Miserable. There's a little workbook there. So read that article. I'll include the link below. Download the little workbook and do the activity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back on Thursday and I'm going to go over it with you, and I'll also give you my responses as well, so that you can see how my life experiences can relate to your life experiences as well. We need to identify our food stories. We need to identify our beliefs about food and about ourselves before we can actually start to experience permanent weight loss. Because as long as we have these negative stories, we're going to keep self-sabotaging. We're going to keep living up to the person it is we believe ourselves to be. And for the majority of us, the person we believe ourselves to be is an absolute fabrication, is an absolute lie, and we need to drop it because it's keeping us small. So that's what I would like you to do. I'll include the link to the blog post below, and go to it, download the book. It's a work in progress, the book too. You'll see that there's some links there that I haven't been able to hook up yet because I was waiting to do these videos to hook them up. So each week I'm going to bring 3 more weeks of this work with you. I'll be updating the workbook, so you'll need to download it afresh each week because I'll be putting in the links as well. So thank you. If you have any questions or comments, post them there. I will come back and answer them. If you've believed this to be useful to you at all, just give me a little thumbs up there. I hope I've helped you in some small way. And I will be back on Thursday to go through that activity with you. So thank you to those who've joined me, and I will be here Thursday. Don't forget to go and read the article. It explains in more detail what I've talked about, and it will give you the book as well. So love to you all. This is a long journey. Health is a journey, not a destination. We're always trying to figure it out. So you are a work in progress, as is everyone. And you're just wonderful the way you are. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.